Good evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa, science advisor Matt Moniz, and Stephanie Burke. And we are here to talk about the paranormal, as we are each and every Saturday night. I almost totally forgot how to start the show off on the radio, because we've not done that for the last few weeks because of the Red Sox. We've started on YouTube, where we can not care how professional we are and say whatever we want, but that's not the case tonight. So just so you know, everybody knows, we're on the actual radio, so watch your mouth. And we are here, as I mentioned, to talk about the paranormal. In a little while, we'll be joined by Ken DeCosta. For a bit, he's going to be telling us about the upcoming 2017 Ocean State Paracon, which will be happening in 2 weeks from today, Saturday and Sunday, and Friday night, too. Now there's the Friday night party. No, they canceled that? That's because I couldn't make it. That's why. They're like, we can't have a VIP party without the most VIP of all.
Right.
No, I was actually going to try and make it. I was making arrangements to leave work early. So
we should just have our own.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good with 2 drives to Rhode Island.
I didn't say it had to be in Rhode Island.
So, well, hey, there'll be people around. Who knows what'll happen?
Right.
But we will be there, and we'll talk with Ken about that coming up in just a few moments. We'll get the whole scoop on everything that's going on, who's going to be visiting, and basically, one of the things that I want to talk to Ken about tonight is the Rhode Island haunts. You know, we don't spend, for a state that's right there.
Right.
And for all the friends that we have that are involved in Rhode Island haunts, we don't spend a lot of time talking about Rhode Island haunts. So we'll get into all that in just a little bit as well. And, of course, during the show, if you want to call in with your thoughts, comments, questions, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Also, you can send in the questions via email, spookycrew@spookysouthcoast.com. You can put them in Twitter form by using the hashtag SpookyLive or tweeting us at SpookySC. And also, of course, the chat room, which is alive and kicking right now on our YouTube channel, on our SpookySouthCoast.com page, and on our free Spooky South Coast app. So for anybody that says, oh, you know, I want to be a part of the show live on Saturday nights, but I don't know, I don't know how to get it, or I'm not home, or, you know, we're just, listen, there's no more excuses. We've got you covered every which way. Some people just put the YouTube streaming on their TV and just sit and watch us on the couch, which, if this is the best thing that you have to watch on a Saturday night, thank you, but I also feel bad. Because this is what you want to do with your Saturday night. We do it with our Saturday nights, but that's because, you know, we really have nothing else going on. Well, why don't we get right into things? We have a new news correspondent this week.
We do. She's
joining us for the first time, and I don't have any fancy intro music for her, so we'll just bring her in the old-fashioned way.
What you want to do?
Oh, Ashley, you got to turn down the playback so that we can't hear ourselves.
I'm excited. She's one of my favorite people ever. So
I think she can probably hear me, but you just got to turn down what's coming your way. Oh, and I'll just.
Is it your computer? Because that was you last time.
Maybe it was. Good call. Let's see if it still does it. There we go. Ashley, you with us? She's like, I'm just going to turn everything off now. I can hear her background there. All right, well, we'll get right into things with her in just a second.
I'll figure out what's going on.
I know, I'm typing and talking at the same time.
Right.
It's all of a sudden I can't do 2 things at once. Good thing I didn't.
I can text her if you need.
Good thing I didn't chew any gum and start trying to walk at the same time. All right, she says she's ready for us.
All right, cool.
All right, can you hear us now, Ashley? Oh, that's me. Hold on.
Oh. I think we're going to fire
All right, can you hear us now, Ashley?
I can hear you.
All right, there we go.
Yay!
I can see you guys talking on the screen, and I'm like, oh boy, I can't hear them.
No, that was me. It's been so long since we've been on the actual radio connecting like this that I forget which buttons I have to press.
Hey, it happens. It's all right. No worries.
We're semi-professional. We figure it out.
Guys look professional on the YouTube channel, just saying.
Well, hey, YouTube is, it's big-time stuff. We had Ty going on the other week from Haunt Me, and, just look at how many viewers they had on their live stream the other night. So,
that was crazy.
We'd love to get numbers like that, people, if you're if you're thinking about joining us live on a Saturday night. So you're going to be presenting the Week in Weird for us. I don't have any fancy intro music for you, so I'll just say, here we go with Ashley Turner. And the Week in Weird, what do you have for us this week, Ashley?
So I'm going to start the story out with a quote from the article. It says, "The ghosts were all over me. I just accepted it. They touched me all over the place, and I'm taking one of the ghosts to court for touching me in the wrong place."
Now, that started off as a good Saturday night, but then it took a turn.
Yikes.
Did you hear that last part, though?
Yes.
I'm taking one of the ghosts to court for touching me in the wrong places. This is the words of the Los Angeles Lakers Meta World Peace. In the article, he states that a few of his players like to look for hotels with paranormal activity because they're into that stuff, hoping to connect with something. Well, according to the Huffington Post, who got a hold of an interview from World Peace, he stayed in a hotel in Skyvern, I believe that's how you pronounce it, in Orange County. And he is now taking a ghost to court because he has been talking with the police and stuff like that, and is counted as an assault. So I personally got a good laugh out of this. I mean, I've heard of ghosts and spirits sometimes being overly friendly, but something you have to deal with and setting your own boundaries. But taking a ghost to court, how is that going to handle it? I mean, what if the ghost doesn't show up for a hearing? Like, who are you going to go after?
Well, I'll say this about, Meta World Peace, formerly known as Ron Artest, the guy has quite a few screws loose. and I cover the NBA, or I did, so I've been in the locker room and I've interviewed Meta World Peace. And I can tell you that he's a very interesting guy, and we've had quite a few conversations when he would come to town to Boston. I would talk to him about paranormal things because this isn't the first time a story's popped up with him associated with something strange and unusual. So he's definitely a believer.
Most definitely.
I don't know what he thinks he's going to get out of this if it happens, but we talked about this before. There was a case where a ghost was actually called to the witness stand in a trial before, so.
Yeah, we talked about it in Millborough.
It just doesn't work out so well.
I just thought it was kind of funny. Like, what happens if it doesn't show up? Who's going to get pointed?
And who's going to know the difference?
Exactly.
Right. Who's going to know the difference? How are you going to get them to communicate?
Well, there's good money to be made in being a court translator. So people who go and work in the courthouses, and they'll have a witness that only speaks Spanish, and they'll need somebody to come and translate. So there's good money to be made in that. It actually pays very well, and it's a state job.
So you're telling me that I should be a ghost translator?
And you can get the cushy state job.
Being a ghost
perks.
translator. All right.
What's he trying to settle for?
Because he got assaulted, I guess, by the ghost?
Yeah, but who's going to pay?
The ghost.
I don't think he needs the money.
Right.
He's doing pretty well for himself. I think it's probably just more of a matter of, he just likes to be crazy and do crazy things. This is the guy that started that big brawl years ago in the middle of a game, and it changed the way that people are allowed to sit around the court and all that kind of stuff. So
It was a bench clearing type.
oh yeah, it was beyond that. It went
Good
up
thing
into the stands.
his name is World Peace.
Yeah.
Well, he changed it to that.
Right, but that's my point.
Because before that, he was known as one of the most testiest guys in the league. So, anyway, you have another story for us?
I do. We're going to lighten the mood a little bit, and we're going to go on vacation. And what else do we want to do? We want to stay in someplace spooky, of course. We're here in the U.S. There's something for everyone. Here are a few of my favorites that I found in an article written by Aaron Saggers. You can head on down to the Nutmeg State where I am. If you don't know where I am, that's Connecticut. And make sure you stay at Captain and Grant's Bed and Breakfast, which is located down from the old Norwich State Hospital, which is a story in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been said that there's sighting of children dressed in colonial clothing, holding hands, wandering the place, and not to mention it's next to a cemetery, so you're in for something around there. I mean, it's a pretty cool place. And then right here in Massachusetts, we have Concord's Colonial Inn. It's noted that in room 424 is the main focus, which once was an operating room at one point. So it said to make sure to book ahead, or the doctor will have your head. So you don't want to be replaced with that. So
Is there, in all the different places that you've checked out and explored, do you have a favorite Connecticut haunt? Like an absolute number one, far and away?
like a bed and breakfast?
Anything.
Or like
Just any place in Connecticut that's your favorite place that you can legally.
Well, I was in there legally. The Norwich State Hospital, I got to go in there, but it's no longer standing. So then there's also the Leffing Wetland in Norwich, Connecticut, so that's a really cool place. It's open to the public, and you can go. It's almost like Smith's Castle and the Paint House in Rhode Island. So, I mean, if you like that type of stuff, then I would look that up. Definitely a cool place to go.
Awesome. And do you have one more story for us?
I do. This one is kind of funny also. A little girl in New Zealand got herself in trouble when it came to school, and it wasn't because she wasn't doing her homework on time or anything. She was caught requesting the presence of the famous ghost Bloody Mary. She was found in the school standing in front of the mirror repeating the name 5 times, such as the legend goes. The girl's teacher, was concerned about her mental health and, brought attention to the principal and so on and so forth. And the mother fired back with, well, that's a trend. You should know what's going on in your school system. And she didn't know why her child was being singled out. And then the teacher said that she had no idea, but was considerably shaken up about the whole thing. And she ended up leaving. But I think that the teacher was a little more afraid of the paranormal activity than what was happening.
I almost am jealous, by the way, of kids that are in school now that can talk about this stuff openly in school,
right?
And it can be a topic of discussion because it was never entertained. We had one teacher that would let us talk about this stuff when we were going to school, and myself and Matt Moniz and Matt Costa. Did you have Mr. Hassenfuss? No. Oh, you didn't get to have him. So, but we would just know that on certain days, like we could just walk into him and be like, all right, Mr. Hassenfuss, I saw this special on ghosts last night. Are ghosts real? And we would push aside the lecture for the day. We'd push aside whatever we were covering, and he would just spend the entire, hour-long class talking about the paranormal. So it's, that was few and far between that we were able to get that.
I ran into him the other day. He said he may come on air with us.
I've been trying to get him on for years. He just, he's retired now, so he doesn't want to have to give up a Saturday night to come in here. But, yeah. Well, in all your years of going to school, Ashley, did you ever have a haunted classroom or a haunted school?
Well, I never had a haunted classroom or a haunted school, but my school or my clique or group of friends, we were all into the paranormal, so it was accepted, I guess. I mean, we weren't considered like the weird kids or anything, but definitely was like a topic that we hung out at the playground and had like our own paranormal club. Oh,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, we were afraid to talk about it even with our friends. I remember for me, the first time we got into a real serious discussion about it was when I was, I think, a sophomore. We had, like, the one friend that drove that was a little bit older, and we went to go see Time Cop, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And on the way home, we started talking about, well, is time travel possible? And then that led it, so I was like, okay, how do you guys feel about ghosts?
Yeah.
And then, oh, Jesus, I saw a ghost once, and then it turned into, like, a big conversation. I was like, oh, I found my people.
Yep, exactly.
Most definitely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us the news.
Thank you for having me.
And we're gonna try some different stuff down the line with this, and we're gonna incorporate some different things. And Matt, we have a willing participant to try anything that you want to do with the Week in Weird. So, Ashley already said she's happy being a guinea pig.
That's what I do.
Be careful what you wish for.
All right.
Have a great night, guys.
Have a great night.
Too.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
That is paranormal news correspondent Ashley Turner, and I think we're gonna try some different technology, see if we can't incorporate things a little bit more because she's got the whole setup.
Right.
So
it's
we
perfect.
think she does radio down at her college, and so we think we can kind of make it work in a way that we can try some different funky things and see what happens.
There we go.
Because we have to push boundaries here. This is episode 503.
3.
So we have to see if we can do new and different things. We can't just rest on our laurels anymore, because our laurels are hardly anything. Now Moni's got that. He's the only one old enough to get it.
Sorry.
So we're going to be joined in just a few moments by Ken DeCosta to talk about the upcoming Ocean State Paracon, the 2017 version of Ocean State Paracon. I think this is the biggest lineup that they've ever had. And
is it because I'm on it?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Just the number
of
people.
I had to pull Tim Weisberg. Sorry.
I'm talking about the number of people.
Yeah, I don't remember that many people being on there in past years, so it looks really exciting. I'm excited to come back.
I think my favorite part about Ocean State every year is that I will stand in one spot and smell the food trucks all day, and wait until I have a chance to actually go and get something from the food trucks. And then, it's hit or miss because now you're really, really hungry and you've been waiting all day. Mm-hmm. And you could go over there and be sorely disappointed, but not with these food trucks.
Well, listen, back in the days of the first ever Ocean State Paracon, there was only hot dogs available. So this is a huge step up, and I can't wait because you've been talking about it for years.
Wasn't there popcorn too?
Maybe popcorn. We'll have to ask Ken.
Yeah. There's what am I thinking? Dunkin' Donuts. There's a Dunkin' Donuts, on the way there. So it's funny because you will see everybody that is there. They'll all have an iced coffee, and they're all trying to nurse it to last the whole day because, they don't want to have to leave because there's so much stuff going on. But you can certainly have a lunch for a king from that food truck. I did last year. What did I have last year?
What did you have last year?
I know I had the cheeseburger.
He's looking at us we know, right?
I had the cheeseburger one of the days, which was outstanding. But they had a special dog that I got that was really good. Special hot dog. And I can't remember what it is. Ross is in the chat room. He might remember because... No, it was Dave Francis that I was talking to while I was eating it. And Dave Francis was like, that looks really good.
With the Oneyville dogs?
No. This was... I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'll just have to eat one.
There we go.
All right, Dave Francis is in the chat room. Maybe he remembers what it was.
But you're the only one that's having an issue with this and remembers that you had it, so...
And making the rest of us hungry.
Right. I have a quesadilla in the car. Of course I do.
Yep.
You're shocked, right?
No. I'm surprised there isn't a chalupa sitting next to it.
Nope. Quesadilla only.
I'm just looking at the clock and realizing it's 10:36.
Yes.
And we started a little bit late tonight.
Yes.
So I'm saying that it probably took us less than 15 minutes to get into food talk tonight.
Oh, is that what you were trying to calculate?
Yeah, I'm sitting there trying to think of things in my head.
I have to blame you for this one, though. This wasn't me this time. You brought up the food.
I know, but that's one of the highlights of this and it's something that other paranormal conventions have brought into the fray, bringing in these food trucks. But I'm pretty sure that Ocean State and Ken was the groundbreaker in that regard, because they've had them there all along, and it's definitely one of the highlights. One of my favorite things that happens is when the ice cream truck comes at the very end of the day. There's an ice cream truck that just comes by, and it sees all these people, so it pulls in, and it's Annabelle's ice cream.
Oh,
yeah. So that kind of freaks everybody out. And then, of course, Chuckles the clown is always there. So he goes and makes it extra creepy.
I don't do clowns.
I think you're actually sitting right over next to Chuckles.
Stop it. No, I'm not.
No.
No, I'm not. I'm with...
No, I think you're pretty close to Chuckles.
Let's,
It doesn't matter wherever you sit, you're going to hear him the whole day, no matter where you are.
I think I was across from him at the first TerrorCon, and I was not pleased.
Oh, Matt can tell you, Matt Costa knows him pretty well, and he'll tell you, he is one of the loudest clowns out there.
I can't do it.
They're only, covered in blood and
right.
Look all murdery and stuff.
Right.
It's nothing too bad.
Nope. I can't. No clowns.
I was trying to zoom in on the picture to. I was gonna try and show you the picture.
Stop.
Make it full screen and throw it right at you.
I
so
hate clowns.
when all that clown stuff was going on last year, did you not even leave the house when it was happening?
No, I didn't. I did not. Thank you very much.
Because there was plenty of clowns that were seen around this area, right? There was.
I think the closest it got was.
I think I remember Seekonk being a clown.
There was a Sonnet, and I believe there was one sighting in far north end of New Bedford. But other than that, not so much.
And there was one in your backyard too.
Stop it!
All right.
You're a mean person.
There's also a couple in Rhode Island.
Yeah, but that's not close. We're good.
We I don't know if you remember when that whole clown thing was going on, but we had Chuckles on.
No.
So Chuckles actually came on and
I must have
defended
missed that
clown life for us and said, let's not put all clowns down for this. So hang on, I have another caller coming in. Is that our surprise
I don't know.
calling in? All right, well, first let's bring on Ken. Hello, maybe. Ken DeCosta, are you with us?
I am with you tonight. How you doing tonight, folks?
We are spooktacular. And we do have a surprise guest that's going to be calling in. I'm not sure if that person is on.
I'll say check the call log. I can tell you if it is.
I don't have the...
You don't?
I don't have the log put up because we haven't had to worry about it. So.
No, not since my show.
No, this one is a blocked call.
Oh.
So, Ken, let's take this call because it might be a surprise for you. Let's see what happens.
Sweet.
Live radio. You got to love it. Let me lock you in.
It can be scary.
All right, good evening. You're on Spooky South Coast with Ken DeCosta.
Hi. Well, I wasn't expecting him to be on air right now. I was expecting him to come in after the top of the hour. But I had a couple of things for you that might be of interest.
Okay, well, why don't we have you call back, because we only have Ken for a brief period, because he has something going on, so why don't we have you call back after 11 o'clock, if that works?
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
And, yeah, because we want to make sure we have enough time to talk about everything that's going on, and now I ruined the surprise, which hopefully happens.
You didn't ruin the surprise. He doesn't know what the surprise is yet.
But he knows that there will be a surprise.
Well, that's okay.
Well,
That's fun.
This wasn't going to be Chuckles. We're not talking about clown-on-clown crime or anything like that.
Hell
No, none of that. We support all clowns. We don't want to see any clowns going after each other, unless it's maybe Sunday, like around 5 o'clock when things are winding up. Then
Clown lives matter too, guys.
Once we turn the river into a dunk booth for Chuckles.
Oh, okay.
That might be a possibility.
I'm just not going to be involved in any clown anything.
So Ken, how many years now is it for the Ocean State Paracon?
This will be our 6th year. And I remember, and you guys remember too, when we had this in the basement of a church in Woonsocket, and we thought it was like the biggest thing ever, and we came out of it, well, maybe we can make $1,000 for a charity or something like that. And if I were to tell you that I actually saw this coming and I anticipated this, I'd be lying. I am just as amazed as anybody how much this has grown into a 2-day event now. But this will be the 6th year, and probably our biggest ever, so we're really looking forward to it.
We were saying that earlier. It definitely seems like it's the most number of poster guests that you've had in all this time.
Yeah, it really is, and it's amazing how many people just want to be a part of this. People leave from the previous year, and on Sunday, getaway day, a lot of them will say, if you'll have me back, I want to come back next year, and there are a lot of people that, unfortunately, we can't accommodate that want to come from, honest to God, all over the country to be a part of this. And, we never think of it that way. We don't spend a lot of time, patting ourselves on the back for anything, because when you're doing this, you're really living in the moment. We're just trying to put on the best event that we can and make it as attractive as possible and as profitable for a charity as possible. So that's kind of where our focus is. So it's really, really gratifying and actually kind of humbling to see how many people now want to be a part of this. And, a lot of people call it sort of like a destination event and things like that. And I couldn't have envisioned that 5 years ago, but it's just incredible. And I can't say enough about the support that these people give us every year.
And you mentioned that, people want to come from all over, and I'm sure people will contact you and say, hey, I'd love to come if you can fly me out. And what people don't realize is that, all these speakers are giving their time, and the fact that all the profits from this are going to charity, and this year you're working with the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And so this is actually one of those events where it's, you've got people that are actually saying, okay, well, now I'll just come on my own dime, and I will come, and I want to be part of this because it is such a great event for such a great cause.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that people need to know when they have an opportunity to come out and meet these people and spend some time with them in a very relaxed setting, that everybody you're seeing, each and every one of these people, and some of them are local, definitely, but you have people like Andrea Perron coming up from Florida every year, and people coming in from New Jersey and New York, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Maine, where they're driving 7-8 hours to be there. And, of course, we want to maximize the amount of dollars to the charity, and we're pretty upfront with everybody, but it doesn't faze them at all. And I think that that's something that all of our attendees, it's important for them to realize that each and every one of these people, takes care of their own accommodations, and they travel on their own dime because we are a nonprofit. And they're happy to do so every year. And like I say, it's just humbling that to have the quality of people to come in here every year and be a great part of this and support this cause. It's just amazing. I don't know how much more I could ask of anybody. I honestly don't, but it's extremely gratifying and just never ceases to amaze me.
And just an action-packed lineup here. We have Andrea Perrin, Dustin Parry, Bill Brock, Samantha Hawes, Sherry D. Benedetti, who was just on the show last week, Joe Chin, Keith and Sandra Johnson, Carl Johnson, Rosalind Bound, Krista Chesery, Ron Murphy, the Gettysburg Ghost Gals, Tom D'Agostino and his wife Arlene, Jack Kenna, myself and Stephanie, and John Brightman and Chuckles the Clown. I mean, you've got tons of people that'll be there, all talking about different things and all bringing different things to the table. That whole huge lineup, and it's all just one low price.
Yeah. At the gate, it's $12 admission for adults, or you can buy a 2-day pass. Hopefully people will hang with us for the whole weekend, and that's only $20. Children under 12 or 5, because we really gear this to try to make it a family event and to make it as affordable as possible. And at the same time, everybody's just doing a little bit and to support a great cause. And it's important that everybody knows that every dime of this will go to the designated charity, as it has been since 2012, where we started.
And when you do go and you get to spend, I mean, it's not like, for anybody that's ever been to, like, Rhode Island Comic-Con or something like that, it's not like you're going to be walking up to these people and being ushered into this line, and then you got to wait. And it's very relaxed. It's very laid back. It's outside, so you get the chance to hang out and actually talk to people. So it's not just spending 5 minutes with Andrea. It's spending a good amount of time and talking with her and hearing about her experiences, and she wants to hear about yours. And you get the chance to actually, get to know people instead of just talking at them or them talking at you. You actually get to have a one-on-one connection with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these events from the beginning that we don't rest on a lot of ceremony. And I think everybody's embraced that whole idea that you're not going to stand in a long line and you're not going to have to get hand stamps and all the rest of this stuff. For the most part, a lot of these people, if they're not at their tables, they're just freely walking around where, you could tap someone on the shoulder, introduce yourself, take a picture, and engage them a little bit in a conversation and maybe get a chance to ask people things that you normally wouldn't get the time to ask, maybe share some of your own experiences and things like that. So I think that's one of the attractive parts of this thing and something that we've always emphasized over the years, and everybody is just absolutely taken to it, and I think there's an understanding that that's the type of event that it is.
And I left a name off the list because you also have Amy Bruni coming on Saturday as well.
Yeah, Amy, about a week ago, got a hold of me because, anybody that knows her schedule, it's just pretty daunting. She has, of course, shooting with Adam Berry for Kindred Spirits, and she has Strange Escapes, which you guys are a part of, which is a phenomenal type of event where, you guys do cruises and all sorts of things like that. But she found a little time in her schedule and got a hold of me and said she'd love to be part of it this year, and we're very happy to have her. She was there 2 years ago, couldn't make it last year because they actually got the green light for the show. But to have her come up here and give her time is just incredibly, it's amazing, and we're so happy to have her again this year.
And I think, too, talking about the intimacy of the event, it's also great, too, because when you get to go inside for the presentations, for the lectures, those happen inside the Assembly Theater, and, it's a nice time to come in and have a little bit of air conditioning during the day and sit down and see who's speaking. But even those presentations, the speakers are up on stage, but it's still a very laid-back, relaxed. It's a conversation, really, between the person up there and the audience. It's not like when you go to see somebody speak and there's 300 people in the room and, you can't get your question answered. I mean, this is the chance to actually directly ask questions and to find out more about what research these folks are bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I think that that's the kind of vibe that sort of permeates this whole thing when we get people on stage, and it's beautiful theater. Seats about 300 people, as you say. It's air-conditioned, which is always a plus if it gets a little warm out there. Beautiful theater built in the 1930s, and great venue for our speakers to do their presentations. And that's something that we emphasize as well because, a lot of events, people get up, they give a talk and things like that. But that is actually one of the focal points of this event, where people come to share their perspective and stories, which is why we brought in a lot of different voices this year. Bill Brock, for example, from Discovery's Monsters Underground, who's going to talk a little bit about cryptozoology and his experiences in that. He's going to touch on extraterrestrial type of subjects as well. So, again, bringing in a different voice every year, but we really emphasize our speakers and our presenters because we like to think of it as a bit of a symposium where it's not just, okay, here's an activity, go in, there's somebody to listen to, you get in out of the heat, whatever the case may be. It's quite the opposite. We put a great emphasis on our speakers, which is why we, try to get them to kind of push the envelope a little bit, talk about something that maybe you normally wouldn't, but bring that dimension to the event, and it's a big part of what we're doing.
And I've always thought that, myself as a speaker, as a presenter, I've always felt that Ocean State is a place where I can definitely push those boundaries. One year I did a whole presentation on how it's okay to be afraid in a paranormal investigation, which was met with mixed reaction. But, I love the fact that it's a group that's always very open-minded to what I'm going to talk about. And so I'm actually doing something different this year that I've never done before. I'm actually repeating a lecture that I've done, my lecture from SalemCon on the spiritualism aspect of paranormal investigation. And I know, Ken, that's something that, you and I have talked quite a bit about, and that's why I wanted to bring it back to this, because I know that we can expand upon that topic with the crowd that we'll have there.
Yeah, I was very happy when you told me you wanted to bring that back. I was kind of talking to you in chat, and I had a sort of a smile on my face because I really enjoyed that, because it's something that I've delved into very, very deeply going back with the spiritualist movement and everything like that. And you, absolutely nailed every aspect of that, from William Mumler to, you just absolutely nailed it. So when you said you wanted to bring that back, I was just more than happy that you chose that subject. But it's true. A lot of people, when I have private conversations, they will come to Ocean State and say, well, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Or maybe this will be controversial, or maybe this won't fly well, because people come up with some really objective things that sometimes, maybe people don't want to hear. And our attitudes has always been the same. You have the stage. Mm-hmm. You bring whatever you want to the table. You talk about whatever it is. And if it spurs debate or it spurs discourse, conversation about it, all the more better, because that's what it's all about, really.
Well, I think we do have our surprise caller on the line now.
All right.
So let's go to the phones. Good evening. You're on Spooky South Coast with Ken DeCosta.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I think I know who this is by the accent.
You know who this is by the deep South accent?
Well, everybody, if you aren't familiar with this voice, why don't you try and guess who it is, Ken?
Okay. How long do we talk about?
Just recite something for me here.
Oh, let me think of something good. Let's see. Shut the front door. I'm trying to think. What else would be something good that I would say in the heat of the moment? All scared, maybe wandering around the hall,
or something,
Asylum or jail.
Yeah, you don't have your dude run moment, I don't think.
No, right?
No, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's like, but when something does happen and you kind of get startled, it's that whole, draw back and go, hey, dude.
Wait. I got one. I think I know, because it's on your T-shirt. What's the phrase that's on your T-shirt?
Right now?
Not the one that you're wearing currently.
I was going to say, how do you know what I'm wearing right now?
No, I don't know.
Listen, we're going to have to talk about this real quick.
I feel like I'm on the old What's My Line show, and I'm blindfolded here. So
Ken's not liking that he doesn't know the answer.
I have to ask a question. Do you trap ghosts by some chance?
Well, you know what? We don't trap them, but we do offer a transportation device for the energy to move around.
There you go.
So if nobody's figured it out, this is Porter from the TWC from Ghost Asylum and the forthcoming Haunted Towns. Is it still called Haunted Towns? Are we still going with that?
I don't know that I can completely comment on that yet.
Right.
I've had I've dropped Easter eggs before in interviews, and I've actually got my hand slapped. So I'm being very, very cautious.
I know how that goes. And they slap hard too. So the surprise news here is so from what I understand, you're actually going to be coming up and taking part in Rhode Island and Ocean State Paracon.
Yes, I am. I'll be up there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, July 15th.
Yeah. It's rapidly approaching. So, I'm really looking forward to it. We haven't done any events up in the Northeast yet, so this will be a new one for me, and hopefully get to see a lot of new faces. And
this,
some old ones, too.
This is Stephanie and I dragging you up because we want to bring your research ability up here to come check out all the stuff that you've researched down there. We want you to come up here and talk to some of these folks from up north and learn about some of these cases up here, because as you learned, just coming out and filming recently, there's a lot of cool stuff all over the country.
Oh, there's a ton of cool stuff there. There's tons of cool stuff everywhere. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you're digging into the backstories, you're digging into the history of locations, you really get into the meat and potatoes when you start, looking at history and start looking at the history from the off the beaten path. Not necessarily the stuff that's written in the history books, but the stuff that's in people's minds that perhaps have had stories handed down to them over time.
Absolutely.
That's where the real story is at. That's where the real juicy stuff is, and where the stuff is that will give you the insight to be able to potentially communicate with something that other people can't.
And Ken, you know that firsthand from all the years of work you've done in the New England area. So what do you think? Do we have room for Porter at Ocean State Paracon?
I'm going to tell you what right now. Porter, my brother, I could not be happier right now that you're going to be up here joining us. And I guarantee you one thing. You are among friends here, and you're going to love this.
Oh, thank you so much. There's no doubt in my mind. I think it's going to be a great event, and I think we'll have a good time, and get to talk and meet a lot of new people, and hopefully we'll get to sneak away and maybe have a little investigation somewhere.
Oh, we've got some news on that coming up in the next hour or two, so people want to stay tuned for that.
Man, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I want to thank everybody sincerely, on behalf of the committee, everybody that puts this on, everybody that gives their time, the charity that we're benefiting right now. I appreciate it so much on behalf of everybody there. It's just like, this is really exciting that you're going to join us right now, and man, I'm looking forward to that. As if I wasn't before, I am really looking forward to this.
All right, Ken, well, thank you for checking in with us, and thank you, Porter, for checking in. We're going to let everybody know about that event coming up next hour, so we'll give them all the details. But thank you for taking some time out of your Saturday night to call in and surprise Ken.
Hey, sounds good. Thanks for having me, and we will see you guys soon.
Absolutely.
You
Have
bet.
a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, take care.
And Ken, we will definitely be talking. And now you've got seating arrangements to change around, and more faces to put on posters. Sorry to do that to you 2 weeks out, but we thought that'd be a nice surprise.
Well, it is a great surprise. So, hey, there's a lake there. Listen, we can get rafts. We can do anything we want to with that.
Yeah, if you need me to, I can certainly just I can stand on the bridge the whole time.
Absolutely, I'll be there with you.
All right. Well, thank you, Ken. We'll definitely keep people up to date with everything that's going on, and everybody can go to your website, Rise Up Paranormal, to not only get their tickets, but also you have some ghost hunts going on as well as part of it, so people can find out more about those there. And those are very small, very intimate. Is there any tickets left for those?
Yeah, we do have some tickets available. There are 2 different locations on Saturday night, and you nailed it. If you go to riseupparanormal.com, click on the Paracon link, you can purchase tickets there. Also, you can find Ocean State Paracon on Facebook, and if nothing else, send me a message. If you have any questions, be more than happy to answer it.
All right. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Okay, you betcha. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye, Ken.
That is
Bye-bye.
Ken DeCosta of Rise Up Paranormal. And again, riseupparanormal.com is the website to get your tickets, to get your tickets both for the Paracon and for those events. And coming up on the other side, we'll tell you about what we have going on with Porter coming up as well, because we figured if we're going to be in Rhode Island, let's do something cool. We
need to do something
so
cool.
So we're gonna have information on that coming up in the next hour. So stay tuned for that, and we'll take more of your calls, and we'll talk about all things strange and unusual. Back, hour number 2 of Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin, Matt Costa, science advisor, Matt Moniz, and Stephanie Burke. You could be spiritual advisor, Stephanie Burke.
I could.
But that just sounds like it's like that's the only reason you're here.
Well, then, why is Moniz here?
Well, he's the science advisor because originally that was what he was just here for.
Oh, okay.
Like, originally he didn't want to be a co-host. He didn't want to talk. He just wanted to answer questions when we had them.
So
that's where the science advisor name came
makes
from.
Makes sense.
And it was kind of like an honorarium for you, based on Richard C. Hoagland having that title with Coast to Coast AM.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we came up with that. That was like a way to kind of pay tribute as well. But then he ended up just becoming a co-host, and the name had already stuck. We tried a couple different nicknames with you in the early days.
Yeah, but those are ones you can use on the air.
That's true. Well, those we still use.
Yeah.
But we used to have, I remember in the chat room, on the message board, we had the Professor's Pit. That was your area. And we had
Have you
Costa's
thought about revising and bringing that back?
Nobody uses those anymore.
No, I meant...
It's still...
No, the concept of it.
You can still get it. It's still there. People can still utilize it. I don't know. Is it still the Konami code on the website, Matt? Does that still work? Yeah, so if you put in the Konami code on SpookySouthCoast.com, you can access it. Also, if you look up Spooky South Coast message board, you'll find it too, because I've had to go back and do some research there for certain things, and I've been able to access it. But if you know the Konami code, you can put it in on the website, and it will pop up.
I didn't think that was still around.
It's still out there. All that stuff people wrote about you is there forever.
I'm sure.
We didn't delete it.
Yikes.
So... did you ever go on the message board back in the old days? I think we had already abandoned it before you were probably even listening to the show. You didn't listen from the beginning, right?
When did you start?
2006?
Yeah, my senior year in high school.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's what you were doing on a Saturday night when you were in high school?
Yep.
Okay. Even I went out when I was in high school.
Well, I did, but... When did you start? January?
I'm just messing with you, yeah. January of 2006. January 26th.
Yeah, but once I was only there for 6 months after you started, so... After that, I was listening. Definitely in 2007.
She was like, in the middle of an awesome party, senior year.
Why not?
I would turn off the music and be like, we have to listen to Spooky South Coast, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Someday you won't pick on me.
I don't know.
Someday.
Good luck with that.
Well,
I try.
You're getting in demand now, so I have to keep knocking you down a few pegs so you don't get a big head or anything.
Okay.
You know.
Thank you so much.
So you do have a whole bunch of things going on.
I do. I can't announce all of them yet.
Well, you have classes. You have things.
I do.
I know that you have. You had mentioned that you have something coming up at your place.
I actually have a table tipping session coming up at my office, and
but this is going to be like a series that you're putting on, right? That's the plan, to kind of do like a series of these?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you were going to try and do a couple of them.
I did.
Oh, you've already done them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I have another one coming up, but that's just open to anybody. It doesn't matter.
And this is just coming and checking out and seeing what it is that you do, and...
Right. Well, no, they come, they pay, they have the session, they
Right.
speak to their loved ones, they go home. I have an Awaken Your Intuition class coming up. I'm doing a very short version of that at Ocean State Paracon. So if you're curious to kind of get in touch with your psychic side, then definitely come see me in Rhode Island. But I do the entire full workshop coming up actually before, so I'll have another one coming up after Ocean State as well. But I do have some traveling coming up.
Right. You don't have to get
Right.
any of the. I just wanted you to promote some stuff for the local audience,
Right.
and then you'll announce things when you can on your website and on social media.
Right, on social media will be first, for sure, but we have exciting things to announce together.
Yes, as we mentioned when we were talking about Ocean State Paracon,
Right.
the people who come and take part in this event are, they're footing their own bill to get here. So, and Porter, I don't think we're giving anything away
No.
by saying that he lives in Tennessee.
Right.
Since he's part of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. So
No, not getting.
it's not an easy trip to make on your own.
No, it's not.
And he's footing the bill for his own trip. So we said, well, if he's going to do that, we should come up with something where we can kind of help him recoup some of the costs
Right.
of the travel expenses associated with coming up here. But also, we figure, I've been doing this event for a couple of years. You were there in the early days of it. We're in Rhode Island that has this great haunted history. Ken's got a couple of ghost hunts associated with Ocean State Paracon in some historic places, but it's small. It's
Right.
limited to a number of. So we don't want to be like, oh, can we come and crash it? And then that's one less person that can come and experience that when we could always go anytime we want,
Right.
because Ken always invites us on these investigations, and two, that's money that we'd be taking away from the location from being able to sell that ticket.
Of course.
For the charity, I mean. So we said maybe we can find another place where we can kind of put a little something on where folks can come and have a cool experience, have a cool night somewhere where they couldn't normally get to, and then at the same time we can help Porter with his travel expenses.
Right.
And I didn't realize that the place that I had reached out to and contacted has apparently been, closed off to the paranormal for quite a number of years now.
I'd say probably close to 8 years.
And people are just shocked that we are getting back in there for this.
Right.
Which is starting to make me second guess that they really know what it is that we're trying to put on there. But no, we talked about it. We talked about it very in depth. I spoke about it very in depth. So on the first night of the Ocean State Paracon on July 15th, Saturday, July 15th, we're going to be putting on a very intimate event, Stephanie, myself, and Porter, where we'll be at the Sprague Mansion in Cranston, Rhode Island. I don't know, Moniz, have you ever been to the Sprague?
Number of times.
It's owned by the Cranston Historical Society, and it has a great haunted history to it. It has a great history overall, but some of the...
Hell, it's got a headstone in it.
Inside of it?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, we do now.
Yep.
Well, the story goes, the way that the story originally goes, is one of the Sprague family that lived in the house was actually murdered. Apparently, he had decided not to renew a liquor license for a tavern owner, and the tavern owner allegedly came and killed him just feet from the property. And it turns out that he probably didn't do it, all this crazy stuff that we can get into that night. But so that spirit is said to roam. People see a woman descending the staircase. That's been seen since the 1920s.
Right.
A former caretaker decided to hold a seance in there one time, and apparently that stirred up a whole bunch of stuff. So there's all kinds of spectral activity that people have reported seeing, people being touched, all kinds of EVPs that have been taken, that have been recorded in the house, in the mansion itself. So there's all this great haunted history of it. So we said, that sounds like a great place. Let's check it out. And so when I reached out to them, it took a little finagling, and it took a little, waiting for the right people to say yes and for it all to come together. But now it has. So we have about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Before the event. So tickets are on sale. They're $135, and you can get them on SpookySouthCoast.com. And we really just want to help give people a good time in Rhode Island and help Porter cover some of the costs of coming up and spending his weekend with us.
And, of course, give back to the Sprague Mansion.
And give back to the Sprague Mansion. And as well,
the charity.
We will be donating $5 out of every one of those tickets back to the charity that Ocean State Paracon is benefiting this year, that being the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Right.
So a big portion of your ticket sales is going to help these charitable organizations, both the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Cranston Historical Society, with the upkeep of the Sprague Mansion. And part of that is also going to There will be some refreshments served.
So I've heard.
Because apparently this is a big deal.
What is wrong with us? We can't have any type of show without talking about snacks.
But apparently this is a big deal because I've told people about this and they're like fired up that we're getting this special punch.
Okay.
Apparently the Sprague Mansion has this very famous
top secret, right?
Top secret recipe handed down from generations, punch that non-alcoholic punch that they serve. And so they said, for an extra price we can provide you with the punch and some pastries. And I said, well, let's see how people feel about that before we say that we definitely want to have it. Because, listen, I'm just thinking about myself. I know that I usually wear black, but I also spill everything on myself. So I don't want to cover myself in punch before I'm doing an investigation. But I started mentioning the punch to people. I'm like, they offered to make you the punch? Oh, you have to get it. And I don't know if we've ever covered this before, but I'm a huge punch fan.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've ever covered this, no.
See, people don't realize it because they see me on the show, like, swigging out of 2-liter bottles of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
When I'm doing the show. But I am a huge fruit juice fan. I love it. All kinds. Pineapple juice, tomato juice, apple juice, I don't care if it's 100% real. I don't care if it's from concentrate. I don't care about any of it. My favorite's probably orange juice. But it has to be orange juice with like pulp so thick you have to chew the orange juice.
Ew.
That's how I love it.
I mean, I don't mind pulp, but I don't know if I want to chew orange juice.
I'm with you on that one.
No, I get that.
A little bit's okay.
I get that Grove stand where it's like nice and thick.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, yeah.
Just eat an orange.
Right.
No, it's not the same.
Right? Yes, it is.
It's not the same.
Yes, it is.
So I'm a very big punch fan, so I'm pretty excited about this. I didn't ask, what's the appropriate amount of punch for one person to drink? So we'll find out that night. But so we are announcing that formally. We announced it the other day on social media, but just announcing that formally that we have that event on sale. So it'll be Spooky at the Sprague. It'll be Stephanie, myself, and Porter, and we're going to put this on to benefit the charities and to help Porter with recouping the costs of coming up here. So if you're excited to go out to Ocean State and get the chance to meet him, then you can also come and hang out with him and investigate. And it's a brief event. It's 6:30 to 11:30, but we're going to spend that whole time just investigating and learning the history and experiencing the Sprague Mansion.
Not our usual of stop and
we're
time
not
to relax. We're going right into it.
No, we're not doing dinner. We're not doing presentations. We're not getting into all that stuff. We're just giving you the chance to investigate the Sprague Mansion. So you can check out all the details of that on SpookySouthCoast.com. And also we have available tickets for Ghosts of the Gateway 2017, which is our annual event that we do now every year to help benefit the Wareham Historical Society. 4 different historic haunted buildings dating all the way back to 1690. And the Fearing Tavern, I hate to kind of not be able to give away all the details of something, but it's going to be on TV real soon.
Again?
Well, Stephanie and I filmed something there a couple of months ago, and it's going to air really soon, and when it does, the reputation of that place is going to blow up, and everybody's going to be trying to get in there for investigations, but they don't just let anybody go in there and do stuff. So this is going to be people's chance to come in, and it benefits the Wareham Historical Society with the upkeep of the Fearing Tavern and their buildings. So when we've been trying to find out, not to speak out of school, but we've been spending months now trying to find out if we can get into the nail factory as part of that event. And the town just announced their plan for the nail factory last week.
Which is?
They're going to be refurbishing it all and turning it into like a cultural center. So they'll have like artist spaces and things for gallery showings and all kinds of stuff. That's what they're going to be doing there. So I've got another email in to the town administrator saying, before you get into all this, this might be our only chance to do this.
Right.
So, fingers crossed, we might be able to get access to that as well.
I'm hoping so, because I have heard so many stories over the past years, I want to say even decades, about that place. So,
And the general store across the street, even though that's no longer in business.
Right. That's closed down.
But the notorious ghost from the general store did travel back and forth
that's
between
the whole
the nail
thing.
factory.
You walk between the two buildings.
And I've seen him.
If we can get the nail factory, it'll be a nice add-on. If not, we always have a great time.
It's going to be amazing anyways.
But it's certainly it would be nice to just at least be able to get in there one time and check it all out before they change everything around and get in there when it's still actually the nail factory as it was, because it didn't change a whole lot from the time that it first opened to
Opened, 1803 or something?
It was the 1890s is when it became the nail factory, I believe. But it was a factory before that.
Mill in 1803.
So, but I don't think anything's changed much from the time it became a nail factory to the modern time. They didn't really modernize it too much. They brought in new equipment, but they kind of kept the bones of the building. And there's all those little outbuildings, too. And I think the last conversation that I had is we could have access to everything. If they were going to allow us to get in, we would have access to everything except the office building, because the office building is structurally unsound. But
fair enough.
I'm fine with that. If we can have just that extra little boost for people who might have already come to us, one of our events somewhere, but it never disappoints.
It doesn't.
Like,
something always happens.
We were having stuff happen there when we were just filming.
Right.
And so it's worth coming and checking out. Where else can you go and get to investigate a place from 1690 that looks like it did in 1690?
Right.
I'm never going to forget that little reporter seeing that shadow thing coming up to the door and her basically climbing up my back onto my shoulders.
There was a lot of strange things that go on there, and we're looking forward to having all that happen again.
I wonder if my very specific story made the TV cut.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I'm sure it probably did.
Think so? It was a little inappropriate.
Dave was pretty excited to have that story, though.
Was he?
I don't know if he was just excited by what was happening in the story.
I don't know. You
can share it in case it doesn't make it.
Well, Moniz was actually with me that night, so it's always going to be weird when Moniz was involved. I was standing at the bottom of the stairs right outside the tavern part of the building, and I was talking to somebody about going up the stairs, and I decided to turn around and start going, actually, moving up the stairs. And I felt something pinch my butt. And I turned around, I whipped my head around at Moniz, and I accused him of doing it because I've known you guys forever. If somebody did that to me, it would just be a joke, laugh, whatever, move on. And he's standing there looking off into space, and I'm yelling at him. And he's like, what? That wasn't me.
What?
Right. What are you doing? What are you talking about? And I think it was somebody from the Historical Society actually stepped in and goes, oh, honey, this used to be a brothel. This is where they used to come out of the tavern and lead the ladies upstairs to the different rooms. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, I guess. But me being the person I am and so skeptical and logical and analytical that I didn't exactly think that would happen to me. But it did.
Number two, I wasn't really that close enough.
You were not even close enough. No. I thought you just moved really quick, and
I could be quick, but not that quick.
It was dark.
Yeah.
It's
also the same stairs that Andy Lake got his EVPs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, he got a few good hits there, but it's just a weird set of stairs.
Yeah, and the way they go up and turn it's not like...
No, that house is like a fun house.
Yeah.
Tavern. Yeah. But, stairs and tiny rooms and having to crawl through basically windows to get to other additions of the house. And, it's a weird place, but a lot goes on. And I think besides that, the creepy doll room is even worse.
That video that Andy got, that was... seeing the original... too bad you lost the original version of it.
We were just talking about that last Saturday.
It's we're lucky to get what we got on the copy, though.
Last Saturday, I'm presenting Ghost of the South Coast at the Middleborough Town Hall, and the lights are off in the room, but the sun is shining, and we don't have any way to really pull shades down. And so we're thinking that, nobody's going to be able to see that when I show that clip. And sure enough, everybody could still see it. It's so luminescent that they could still see it even on the screen with the sun coming into the room. So everybody was pretty blown away by that. So
the original generation, too bad that got lost or corrupted, but it was sparkling. That's why we called it Tinkerbell, because that's exactly what it reminded. I mean, it's definitely self-luminous, and it flies right into the wall. And it's like, what the hell was that?
I think I saw it right when you guys originally had caught it.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty awesome piece of evidence, for sure.
Well, as I mentioned, they don't really allow a lot of...
No, they don't.
...other investigations to happen. You were a part of one of the other investigations that was able to take place there. They've only allowed a few. But, so you can even say, even beyond just going to our events there, that, stuff happens when you go.
I think after that incident, we're pretty much the only ones allowed in there. So
yeah, it's kind of there's a process.
Of course.
To get approval, and they trust us because
what about the
3 out of
cellar?
4 of us live there. What do you mean? What about the cellar?
Are we going to be able to get back in there?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just it's all crushed gravel in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, no, people can go down there.
It wasn't
they got
nearly
rid of
as creepy.
all those spider corpses and all that
Yeah.
stuff are all gone.
Yeah, with the gravel down, it's not as bad.
Okay.
Now, one place where they haven't got rid of all the spider corpses is the Oliver House basement.
I'm not all right with that.
So
I came face to face with them. I don't do spiders. I just don't.
we're working on putting an event together there, and it's safe to say that Stephanie will not be working the basement of the
No.
Oliver House that night.
Listen,
Let me guess. Am I going to end up in it?
well, we
I don't
usually
know.
stick you in the basement
It does-
anyways, away
everyone-
from people.
I was
I
going to
don't-
say everybody.
I don't
puts
know,
me down.
Monies. I might have to take the basement of the Oliver House if we do an event there, only because I might be the only person short enough to not smack my head into everything down there.
I am absolutely too tall for that basement, for
I
sure.
mean, you guys joke about having me in the basement of all these places. There's a
There's a lot of
ton
activity.
of activity that happens in these basements.
I went down to the basement with just a quick tour with Christy, who is, manages everything over there, and she's teeny tiny.
Yeah.
I just told her tonight when I saw her, she's
She's
like
all
a chicken
of, what,
nugget.
5 foot?
Yes, that, and I love her southern accent. She's just the cutest. So she's walking around. I'm following her pretty much bent in half at this point because I can't walk in that basement. And she's showing me like all these crazy nooks and crannies where they used to I think it was part of the Underground Railroad at one point, and then they used to hide.
And they were loyalists too, so they
right.
would have to hide down there. Yep.
So it was really fascinating. However, all I had was my cell phone light. She had a lantern, but she's so teeny and she's running everywhere that I can't see anything. I'm coming face to face with these gigantic golf ball sized spiders. And
Most of them are like already reached that point. They're like dead, and they've reached that point where they're like frosted over.
yeah, it's
But
no,
that's-
Not all of them were
some
dead.
of them
That's just
were
a
living.
mold growing on the remnants of the
So-
exoskeleton.
Funniest part was there's this big old door, to probably go into a bulkhead to lead outside. And she walks over to it, no fear at all, and says, "Oh, we nailed this shut earlier, and it's wide open." So my first thought is, who's down here with us? And she's walking around like it's no big deal. I'm like, between the spiders and the possibility of somebody like lurking in the shadows ready to kill me, I'm all set. I want to go upstairs now. But even part of as you walk down,
I've only seen the outside of the house. I'm not sure how big the basement is.
it's
pretty good size.
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
It's the footprint of the house.
As you start walking down the house, I think did you get to see, have you been there?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
I was there with you last
Oh
Saturday.
my God, I don't have any memory today at all. Did she lower the wooden planks for you? I thought that was really awesome. They have this, almost like a pulley system, and it completely covers the stairs down to the basement, and then you can crawl into almost like a hidden room off to the left where they used to hide
Part
people.
of this
Yeah.
Underground Railroad and stuff. Okay.
That and the loyalists. Yeah.
So I believe the wooden part was the Underground Railroad part, and then the loyalists were underneath in the basement. Christy was explaining everything so quickly, and I'm just so blown away by how cool the place was that, I'm not absorbing everything, but one of the coolest parts about that place is the story, the legend, and nobody's sure if it's actually 100% accurate, but the legend is the family that lived there were loyalists, and they had been communicating back and forth with England and telling them of the revolutionist plan. They were basically spying on the Revolutionary Army and giving this information to England, and then they couldn't figure out why England was always, kind of one step ahead. So they ended up sending Benjamin Franklin to this house. And so Benjamin Franklin visited and went into this closet and opened up the closet and found the correspondence between the family and the British government. And so that's how they ended up proving that these people were giving this information to the British. So you walk into this room and you're like, okay, already I'm in a room that Benjamin Franklin was in, which is pretty awesome. And then you walk over to the closet and you touch the door handle. And you say, I'm touching the door handle that Benjamin Franklin touched. And then you go into this like little tiny closet. And from what Christy was telling me, that the wallpaper that's in there is original. Like it goes back to 1767 when the house was built. and it's peeling off, and so they're trying to work on having it put back up professionally, and then putting plexiglass over it so that people can
preserved.
so that people can go into the closet and be able, because they put people in there for EVP sessions and things like that. But it's just to be in there and be like, wow, like little tiny bit of minutia like that you don't realize is such a direct connection to the past. To be able to walk in there and say, and that happens for people like at Lizzie Borden's house. To go in there and say, this is the door handle that Lizzie Borden touched, and it's a way to kind of make that direct personal connection. So
that's like dirty talk to me. I love history.
Well,
Anything to do with history.
I'll lose my stuff when I get to go to a place that Abraham Lincoln was at, and I'm like, wait, Abraham Lincoln sat in this chair?
You never did the Washington trips?
I need to.
I did with
junior high school?
I did with Matt's class. My class didn't have it. But it's not the same. I mean, like, when you go to a place where there's been like 10,000 people touching a doorknob, and there's probably been that many that have touched this one now. But you know what I mean. It's still just a geek out moment. So, and I love those geek out moments. And you can have those geek out moments with us at either one of these events. So I highly recommend people get tickets now because, as I said, first of all, the Sprague Mansion one is coming up fast, but once Porter starts kicking that out to his social media, then people are going to be coming from all over to come and take part in that one. So make sure our New England people get first crack at those tickets, jump on there now.
And you saw the doll room, right?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I figured you would have seen pictures. A whole room from floor to ceiling.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Yay.
All the way up to the door, and it's like, but you'll see.
Cool.
Sorry, but the rest of the house is done very period correct and stuff like that. All the antique furniture, and they did do a very good job with it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll just avoid that room.
I was we were discussing the door handle in the chat room. And if anybody wants to call in, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. In bringing up all of these historical connections and bringing up all of these places where we can go and kind of directly touch history, a lot of people that listen to the show, we have people that listen to the show from all over. We get emails from people from all over. And I was talking about this with Mama Cheryl on the cruise too. That
I love Mama Cheryl.
People look at stuff from the early 1900s or the late 1800s in other parts of the country and say, we've got a place that was built in 1904 that we get to investigate.
So funny.
And it's like, really, 1904? Like, I'm pretty sure that's when my front door was put on. Like that doesn't mean anything to us because like what we have is so much older.
No. I grew up in a house that was built in 1792. That's my norm.
And so for other people, they look at that and they say, well, I can't imagine what it must be like to have to, keep up places like that. But when you look, like the Oliver, we were talking about the Oliver House, which did need some work, and they have been repairing it and everything. But like, look at the Faring Tavern, where they still have the, the post and beam attic and all that stuff. Like, that stuff was built to last. So the stuff around here that was built in the night, like, how come you have all these places from the 1700s, 1600s, but, you get rid of your houses from the 1900s? Because they weren't built to last like those older places were.
They were meant to be generational. Because it was the need to.
And when you built it, you were building it because, you wanted to have the places that are preserved. We don't have a lot of the common places where like the common folk would live are not preserved. It's not like the place,
certain homesteads are still around.
In some cases, but for the most part, the places that are preserved had a significance throughout that period, from that period. They have some sort of relevance. It's not just like, let's go down to Joe Smith's house and go see Joe Smith's house from 1685. No, because it would be preserved if Joe Smith was somebody important. And usually that meant that they would have the money to kind of put into that.
Or the family did.
And it would be a reason to have it be preserved and have it last like that. So, our places do have that built-in history. It's not like when you say, we have a house that was built in 1903. Usually if we have a house around here that's built in 1903, it's like not anything of historical significance. So that's why you don't hear us talking about a lot of those places,
Right.
You'll have people that will come up to us and say, I think my house is haunted. It was built in the early 1900s. Fine, but it's just a residence. It's not something that makes headlines.
In our case up here, at least, the land has seen so much
God,
that it's probably haunted because of what happened before the house was built.
I think that's part of it, too. And I think the Bridgewater Triangle is part of it, too. Speaking of the shirt Moniz is wearing. I think that all kind of plays into it. And I think the fact that we have a culture that continuously, even if we're not continuously talking about the paranormal stuff, we continuously talk about the historical value of it. And I think that kind of lends itself and plays itself into it. Because we've debated this and discussed it before. You know, if a place looks like it should be haunted, it's probably going to be haunted because we'll make it haunted. And I think that we look at places that have this historical significance and we say, that's a place where you can go back and touch history. And even if there wasn't, and I hate to use the word portal, but we'll just use the word portal as an example here so that you get what I'm talking about. If there wasn't a portal directly back to the 17th century in that place, enough people going there and studying and focusing on the 17th century might open up that portal. No, I'm not even talking about like something that you create with your mind. I'm talking about just going in there and kind of ripping open the fabric of time a little bit.
Just for the act of being there.
Just being there and talking about it and putting that into there is going to thin that veil a little bit. And that's what we get to do at a lot of these places, is I think that when you can walk into a place and say, I feel like I stepped back into the 1700s, well, then maybe you are. Maybe we've made it that way by enough people going there and focusing on that era.
Could be.
I mean, one of the things that Jeff Belanger talks about in his time travel lecture is he talks about time slips. And I think that by putting ourselves into these places, we're kind of intentionally putting ourselves down the path of a time slip. You know, we want to. That's what we want to have happen when we're there. Nobody wants to go into a place that was built in the 17th century and encounter the person that lived there 20 years ago. They're trying to reach out to people from the past. They're trying to reach out to people from 100, 200, 300 years ago. That's the idea of being there. That's the advantage and the coolness of being in a place that's that old. So I think that we're putting enough of an emphasis on that history that we are making it kind of come alive again. For example, I mean, you guys didn't get a chance to check it out because
it's sort of like thought forms. I don't want to say necessarily a tulpa in itself.
Well, we can get in kind of the argument about tulpas because when you're talking about a tulpa, you're saying it's something that you created.
Well,
and I'm not talking about something that we've created. I'm just talking about something that we've maybe. See, I was going to use the word conjured, but even that could kind of be something that you've created.
Right.
But it's just a calling forth.
You're creating a conduit to that time in the past by focusing on it with thoughts.
Instead of going into a haunted place and creating a ghost named John, you are going into a place and having the ghost named John that used to live there come forward. So, and I think that that's what we're doing in a lot of these places. Like, you as I was saying before, you guys didn't get a chance to go there.
More summoning than anything.
Yeah, more of a summit because Jeff and I did that place in Connecticut, the Smith Harris House. And that was a place that just had a lot of historical value but didn't have a lot of paranormal stuff going on. They had a few things, enough that they thought it was worth having us come and do an event, but they really kind of just wanted to just promote the history more than anything and say, you know, maybe some of these weird things that have been happening to us are paranormal. You guys can let us know. So we do an event there, and all kinds of crazy stuff's happening. The first time that we ever went to the Fearing Tavern, nobody reported paranormal activity happening there. That worked in the historical society. You know, nobody came to us and said, "We think this place is haunted. We need you to come and check it out."
We weren't approached, but there were definitely stories from people.
But they didn't take it seriously. I mean,
But I'm saying it wasn't that there hadn't been any reports. There have been reports for years.
The historical society did not consider it to be ghostly activity. Let's just say that
they didn't.
the common belief that they had was that. Yeah, everybody just feels that way because it's old and, you know, it's a little creepy at night and things like that. But
what about the people that saw stuff?
But as a whole, the Historical Society dismissed it.
Yeah.
And so when we go in there and we start conducting the first ever investigation there, what happens? The place comes alive. It goes crazy. There's all kinds of stuff happening. And we find that happens more often than not. And I think what you get the opportunity to do in these places is open that door, and that's something that you can't do in other places. You can go back and you can go to a place in California that was built in 1885 and say, okay, but what was on the land before that?
Right.
But it's still not the same as being able to kind of open the door and step back into what that location would have been like, 200, 300 years before. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'll always kind of brag about the ghosts that we have in New England and always kind of say that ours are better than yours.
Of course they are.
There's a few places that I'd be interested in checking out, and Porter can tell us about it when he comes up, because they've been all over the country now, and they can talk about some of the places that they've been and some of the unique factors of those haunts. But
right.
I bet you even those guys will tell you, yep, nope, you guys have something really cool going on in New England. So
we'll have to ask.
We will. I think I'm going to have to drag them up for my presentation now.
You could.
We'll just have them. We'll use them as guinea pigs for both of our presentations.
Well, how am I going to use him as a guinea pig for mine?
I don't know. You'll figure something out.
But he might hate me after I'm done, but...
I will, because I know that he's pretty skeptical of some of the spiritualist stuff. So maybe we'll have him sit in and offer up some insight on that.
That might be interesting.
I'm excited to just talk about that topic again.
Well, your topic is right before my topic. So I tried to plan it that way, at least, so that way you could talk about spiritualism and then go right into how to make it work.
So basically what you wanted to do is you wanted me to cover all the historical stuff so that you could not have to waste time doing that.
Absolutely.
So that works. That's fine.
No, I had the opportunity to go before you, and I chose not to.
But that's why when I presented at SalemCon, I told you that I wanted you to sit in and be part of that so you could kind of see how that can happen. Like, I think that's a great 1-2 punch in the future, too.
No, I agree completely. So we'll have to see how that works out.
But certainly we can talk about... I mean, I want people to come and argue with me about it. Now, I didn't get a lot of argument at SalemCon about it. People are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I kind of want people to argue with me about it.
I prefer not to have the argument, but it's hard for people to argue with me after I prove it to them.
Well, it's not... I shouldn't say argument. I like a debate.
Debates are fun.
I like a discussion. I like hashing things out and explaining it. Moniz, you've been doing this for a long time. Since the spiritualism era, pretty much.
I gave it to Fox Sisters.
No.
But
listen, I wouldn't put it past you.
Do you know what the title of my lecture is? Because it's one of my most proudest moments of something that I've written.
Well, you've had a couple of them, so
the one on spiritualism. I call it From Fox Sisters to Ghost Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
You were actually really excited about that title.
I was so happy with it. I was like, that was one of my shower ideas. So anybody that knows me knows I do my best thinking in the shower, which is why I take a 40-minute shower every day.
I always joke with him if we're out in public and he says, so I was thinking about you while I was in the shower. I'm like, you can't do that.
Right, but
it's all work related.
She knows what I mean.
I knew what you meant, but it's funny to other people.
I came up with an idea in the shower.
They are pretty good ideas.
I actually have to keep my phone.
What about the showers?
She's not involved in that.
No.
I keep my phone right next to the shower on the towel rack because, I will literally, in the middle of my shower, have to grab my phone and, write something down. No. But I have to, literally, put a note in, because I have the note, so I can actually pull the little pen out and write notes to myself. And I will actually literally have to, write things down while I'm taking a shower so that I won't forget them. Because that's when my best ideas happen.
I do that, too, though.
You got, what's next? Post-it notes in there? Or?
I have a app that does, Post-it notes on my phone.
We're going to have to get you those shower crayons where you can just write on the wall.
No, because then it'll wash away.
No, it stays for a little bit. You have to, scrub it off. Yeah, Crayola makes them. We'll get you some.
I'll stick with the phone thing until I drop my phone in the shower.
Awesome.
But as I was saying, Moniz, you've been doing this for a while, so you've seen a lot of different technology come into play.
Seen a lot of it come and go, yeah.
You've been doing this since before people were making, mass market making paranormal equipment. I'm sure that...
I was doing this before there was any type of mass market equipment, yeah.
Right, but people were... I'm sure people were still trying to build things geared toward investigation, but nobody was... It wasn't like there was a proliferation
of Sparacom and stuff like that.
You weren't walking into a haunted place and somebody's like, oh, I know what that is.
Oh, here's a K2.
Yeah. So you've seen all this stuff kind of come and go over the years, and some of it has stuck around, but so... And knowing what you do about spiritualism, because if people don't know, we live in one of the big spiritualism centers. At least, going back to the Victorian age, it's still active now, but it's not Lilydale, but it's still pretty active. So knowing all that and bringing it into play, I mean, I think you would probably agree that a lot of the stuff that we use is just the same idea, just with batteries and lights and bells and whistles.
Divination is divination, whether it has batteries, boards, or your body. It's all the same. You're just trying to interpret what's coming through it. Steph doesn't need any of the trappings if we're to follow what
Nope.
they say about psychics and
I'm not really like most, anyways.
But the point being is, for you, having a K2 meter would be for what?
Pointless.
Right.
Well, it's not pointless because...
Well, for me it is.
But
yes,
the point I'm trying to make is for some people, they need the physical object to help them with their
belief.
With their belief and focus on what they're doing.
It's not even like...
I'm not saying that the device itself is pointless because I understand what it does and I'm obviously pro using it. However, for someone like me,
Right.
it doesn't affect whether or not I pick up anything,
Right.
communicate with anything. And on top of it, if somebody puts one of those in my hands, I think I told it at my last lecture. I can't tell you how many times I've had a K2 meter in my hand and I've accidentally stuck it in my hoodie pocket and people are freaking out all around me going, oh my god, it's going off, the colors. And me spacing out, doing my thing, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I just end up handing it off because it's pointless for me to hold it. I don't pay attention to it.
I kind of one of the things that I want to do, and we'll do this in the future, especially now that he has more time. But we're gonna have Jay Haas come on the show, and I want to kind of debate with him a little bit about that shift in perception of going toward the equipment and going toward the gear, and what it means. Because I think even he would say, not to put words in his mouth, but I think even he would say that it doesn't completely eliminate the personal experience. And a lot of people will tell you, like I've gotten into this debate with a number of investigators, if it's personal experience, throw it out. It doesn't count for anything. It just happened to you and it's very subjective and it doesn't count for anything.
You should still note it.
A lot of people will say that you shouldn't even note it.
Then that's not science.
It's not only is it not science, but it's not accurate. It's just
it's no more subjective than a person's observance of an animal and its wild behavior out in it. I didn't see it. You saw it. You just made a note of it.
Right.
So how is that any different?
But it still happens, and it blows my mind that people
Because
would
it's
even
controversial.
make
That's
that
all.
suggestion.
But the point is, you should still make note of it because somebody else may make the same observation. And if you keep putting all of those pieces together, that shows trends and that is statistical data that is usable.
And when you have something happen on a device, isn't that a personal experience?
It's personal experience when I work with some of the medical devices I have at work.
So,
I mean, it's telling me that it's seeing the presence of this with this peak in this thing, but I know that this particular compound absorbs at this particular wavelength, and it will show that in the instrument. But I'm just looking at an experience of that.
When you have that experience. All right, I'm trying to put this into the same example. Okay, so if you had a piece of medical equipment that was giving you a certain result, and let's just say that certain result also gave you a headache, you would note the fact that you were getting a headache from what was happening.
Yes.
Because it could be a direct result of what's going on with that piece of equipment, or
right.
something else environmental that's happening with it. So I don't understand why we would be dismissive of the personal things that happen. So automatically, I think that at its very heart, paranormal research is always going to be subjective. It's impossible to be completely 100% objective in paranormal research because things are going to happen that will affect you. You can't turn yourself off from it while it's happening.
Yeah, your body, your person, who you are, your psychology, and all of this, that all plays into effect. Whether it's something paranormal or something mundane that you may be looking into.
We had a friend a few years ago that had an idea about building a robot something that you could bring, self-drive into a paranormal location, leave it there with all different types of meters and devices, and it can take all kinds of readings. And he said, I want to...
Basically a paranormal Mars rover.
I want to eliminate the human element from it. I want to eliminate the human observation from it and the human feeling of it. I'm like, but the fact that those readings are going to be perceived by a human at some point is human involvement.
Your proximity to the device is irrelevant. The data that is generating and your interpretation of it is what's relevant. It doesn't make a difference if you're in a room holding the EMF meter or if there's robots in there. You're watching it on a closed circuit television having the meter. It's like the distance is irrelevant.
It's happening because it's going to be perceived. There's the old saying that everybody goes back to all the time: if a tree falls and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a noise? And in a way, no, because doesn't that noise have to be processed by something for it to actually be a noise?
No, the noise is generated from the act itself. The molecules still move, whether people are there or not to be recipient to that action.
But doesn't the auditory nature of the noise, doesn't it have to reverberate with your ear for it to actually be a perceived sound?
So we're cutting out the entire point of having like a camera there and watching from afar, correct? Because you guys are getting deep into this.
No,
However,
I'm not.
Nobody has talked about the fact that you can set up a camera and be halfway across the country and watch this.
Yes. But you're still watching it.
But that's what I was trying to get into.
So it's still the act of observation.
Yeah.
Right. So that counts.
Like, I really don't think that paranormal activity just happens.
We'll call it the Schrodinger effect, because that's what it is you're observing.
Okay, so what if you're not watching live? Does that matter?
It's still going to be perceived.
Okay.
And I think that's why it happens.
Or the Heisenberg principle, as well.
It bothers me that people want to say you have to kind of remove yourself from the situation, because you can't.
No, it's literally impossible.
And not only can you not, think about the nature of why it happens. And you can say what you want, Stephanie, because you have the ability to actually communicate with these people. But from, a regular, straightforward perspective of not incorporating abilities as part of it, you still have to say, well, why does it happen? It's happening because it wants to be perceived. There's a reason why whatever's there is continuing to exist. I'm so beyond the idea of residual haunts.
Okay.
Right.
Here's some. This is
which I'm not saying don't happen. I'm just saying I'm not even bringing that into the equation.
No, don't, because that's just a whole other level.
All right. Now, one of the things I remember having an experience with is a place having haunted, quote unquote, haunted activity while nobody was there. There were physical objects moved within the house. Nobody was there to experience it.
But somebody came back and realized they were moved.
But I'm saying that you're going back to the tree falling in the woods thing.
What's the point of it moving if it's not to have somebody realize later that it moved?
Correct.
See, I just think that people are doing a huge disservice to the activity by not taking into account the rationale behind the activity. It doesn't just happen because. You have to be there to observe it. And getting back to my...
Well, what is the purpose of the activity, like you're saying? This particular thing I'm talking about was objects that were stacked on top of each other.
What do you think?
Was it books?
No.
Was it in the basement of the New York Public Library?
No.
Okay. Listen, you smell something? All right, sorry, go ahead. I was making a Ghostbusters joke.
I knew where he's going.
What do you assume that spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, do when nobody's watching?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So they come out of nowhere and manifest when we're there?
Yes.
Okay. That's your theory.
That's what I think. Well,
you're sticking to it.
It's not that I think that they do nothing. I just think that they do nothing of perception to us.
Okay, so I walk into a place.
Of course they wouldn't, because we're not there, right?
I'm going to throw a wrench. Here's my wrench. I walk into a place.
Before you get into this, let me just clarify. I don't think that they're just standing there doing nothing. waiting for somebody to walk into the room and be like,
Just
all
like
right,
that,
now I'm
right?
going to go knock this over. I think that they're going about their life. I think that whatever crosses from where they are to where we are doesn't have to happen until we're there. Sorry, go ahead.
So I walk into a place, and Moniz has been with me plenty of times, and actually
yeah, she's very clumsy. She walks into places all the time.
I know, it's terrible. So I can actually run in heels better than I can sneakers.
I've seen that.
Yes, you have. So, haunted location, I walk in, I do my thing. I have observed different spirits doing different activities and completely ignore the fact that I'm there. When I start the conversation with them is when they pay attention to me. So, from my perspective, they are there, they are taking part in something, they are doing something, whether it's pertaining to their everyday life before they passed or it's something that they've taken on afterwards, I can't say for sure. However, I do notice it. So, they don't bother with me unless I bother with them. And then some of them that do want some type of conversation or help or whatever it might be, they bother with me first. So that completely...
But you're also perceiving it.
I am, but I'm not asking to.
Doesn't matter.
No, what I
But
find
no, but that is totally different than what you were talking about before, because it's perceiving it in a way that not everybody else can.
Well, you're talking about perception. This perception should be working in both directions. If you're
Right.
talking about, so they're perceiving you
Right.
according to what you're saying.
So is that what you mean, that they're perceiving us and not us perceiving them, or were you doing it the other way around?
No, I think it's just the fact that there is...
We're going to need another hour for this conversation.
Yeah, no, this can really get...
The fact that there is an observer.
Okay.
The very nature
So it doesn't
of
matter
observation
who's perceiving who. That doesn't matter.
changes.
That's cut out.
the
Without
activity.
observation, what's the point?
Right.
Well, that's the idea. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, how are you going to be able to remove yourself from what's happening? What's the reason to even quantify what's happening if you're not going to observe it? That's the exact point that I'm making. Which, anyway, gets me all the way back to the beginning point of how what spiritualists were doing is not that different from what we are doing. Like,
No, it's not.
being that observer of what was happening, and granted, I know that understanding some of it was hoaxing, some of it was not. Some of it was legitimate. I think we have to accept that. If we can accept that paranormal activity, we have a minute. But if we can accept that paranormal activity happens now, and that we can quantify it and qualify it to some degree with the way that we do it now, then we have to be willing to accept that some people were doing the same thing with whatever methods they were using 150 years ago.
And before.
We can't say that ghosts didn't start showing up until we went out and bought battery-operated devices. So...
Well, look at our written history and oral history. Our oral and written history are starting with nothing but ghost stories.
Well, that gets into a whole other thing of our ego and our ability to not be willing to exist just in the time that we exist and all that kind of stuff.
This is getting crazy.
What was I just watching where they were getting into all that stuff? I don't know. I can't think of it. But we only have like a minute left. So we will put a pause button on this discussion. We'll pick it up at a later date. What we really need is to bring in philosophers and things like that, because that's
going to make it 10 times worse.
No, that's what's missing from a lot of the paranormal debate.
Moniz and I are going to end up standing on our chairs and shouting into our microphones.
That's
this
fine.
is a political debate.
That's fine. I don't know. I didn't even get into Donald Trump's views on ghosts.
Listen.
Please.
Hey, I heard there's a book.
There's a great book. Donald Trump Ghost Hunter. Buy it on Amazon. All right, so that does it for this week's show. We'll be back next week with another show. And you can always get in the debate with us as well on Twitter at SpookySC and SpookyCrew at SpookySouthCoast.com. If you want to keep the debate going, you can comment on the YouTube channel as well. I would love to read some comments underneath this video of what you think about what we were talking about tonight. And I really do think we can certainly explore this topic somewhere down the line. We've been talking about it for years, and we still haven't gotten any closer to answers, so I'm sure we'll be talking about it for another 11 and a half years as well. But we are out of time for this week. Just go to SpookySouthCoast.com if you want to get tickets to either one of those events. Come and hang out with us and Porter and everybody at the Ocean State Paracon on July 15th. It all goes to a great cause. Until next week, for Matt, for Stephanie, for Chris, for Ashley, for everybody that joined in the show, we want you all to stay spooktacular.